And with that, we start a new era of Pack Sports Zone. I'm your host, Peter Pac-Man Clark, and let's get right into it. The reason why that this is a new era of Pack Sports Zone is going back to when we did the Two Dudes in the Mexican show with me, Vic, Javier, and Dave. When we did that show, we built it as a national show. And by doing that, we made the show where it was for the wide audience. But the problem with that is it's very hard to build a national show before you have your local foundation first. And listen, we tried the best we could, talked about every single team, every single sport, but I think it's like a boxer. It's very hard to make a pay-per-view boxer without him getting his initial support, going around with great promotion, having the local crowd be behind him. You have to do that first if you want to make it big. And I think one of the issues that we've had, listen, we have about 500 subscribers on YouTube, and we appreciate all of you guys, but at least 80% of them are local. They're all in the New York, New Jersey area, and they like local teams. They want to hear about their teams. So I think to benefit the show, I think it's best. And and hopefully this will happen when we do start back up Two Dudes in the Mexican. No, it isn't gone. Yes, we're still going through some things to try to get everything back together, get everybody on the same schedule. So right now, it's just Pack Sports Zone, but we will get the big show eventually back together. But I think we are going to cater towards more of the local teams, the Jets, Giants, the Yankees, the Mets, and as well as the teams that mostly follow me on social media or follow Vic when he's back on the show. We're gonna do more boxing because a lot of boxing people follow us. We're gonna do the Titans. We're gonna still do the Braves. But other than that, we're not doing weekly picks. We may have separate shows for wrestling, but that won't be primarily on the show. We have to cater towards what the people that listen to us the most or the people that follow us the most want. And right now they want the local news, the local sports team. So, we're going to try doing that for a little bit. Obviously, we're going to start out with the Mets, Jets, Yankees and Mets, along with the Braves and Titans because they're playing right now. Their sports are playing right now, and we'll see what happens in the future. But I think this is what's going to be best for us to grow and make it bigger because it's very hard, like I said, to do a national show before getting your footwork. You know, is building a football team. You love seeing the wide receivers, you love seeing the running backs and all that, but if you don't have the offensive line, the quarterback can't get the ball out of his hands. You gotta have the meat and potatoes. You gotta have the whatever's the heart before you can expand and start getting those fast wide receivers on the outside. So with that said, we will be now talking more about Giant football, Jet football. We'll be getting a little bit more into the Yankees. We'll be getting more into the Mets and talking about what they have left before the end of the season. In football, we're going to be talking about what they have upcoming, what happened last week. And from there on, we'll move on and hopefully we'll get more interaction. More people will either send us questions or just give us questions to talk about on the show, anything like that. It always helps if you comment on the YouTube page or go on there and like us. So get more people to subscribe is always best for us. So moving forward, hopefully that'll be the case. And we'll grow from there, and hopefully the show will get longer, it'll get bigger, and we'll see what goes on from there. But until then, we're going to keep it local for most of the teams. And with that, we're going to start off with this past weekend in football. And yeah, we will obviously talk about last night's game because that was a big game, and I do have time to talk about it because it is a 45-minute show. But to start off this, we are going to talk about last week 1, as we began the football season. And what's a better way to talk about locally and talk about my teams than to start with the New York Giants and the Tennessee Titans, starting off with their 4:00 game last week, in which was a very happy game for the Giants, not much of a happy game for the Tennessee Titans. The New York Giants last week, it was a great win for them. Daniel Jones was solid, 17 out of 22, 2 touchdowns and interception. Most of it was on the 65-yard TD pass to Sterling Shepard. Saquon had a monstrous game showing that he's completely all the way back. He had 164 yards on the ground on just 18 carries. That's it. And he also had another 6-7 catches to get him another 30 yards, almost 200 yards of total yards for Saquon Barkley in week 1. He was named the NFC Player of the Week, which was well deserved. He not only had a touchdown, but he also had the game-winning 2-point conversion. And this was a game that the Titans were up 13-0, and they should have put them away. They couldn't. They let the Giants stay in it, and that's what happens when you let teams that are supposed to be below you stay in the game. When you look at it from the Titans side, the O-line was good, but they weren't facing the Giants' top 2 pass rushers. Tannehill was solid. He was 20 out of 33, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. Looking at the rookies, Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips, they both had solid games. They're okay. Henry looked a little bit slow, but at the start of the season, he normally looks a little bit slow. They only had 2 targets for Robert Woods, their new acquisition wide receiver. They got to get more looks at him. Burks only played 1/3 of the snaps. They got to get his snaps up fast. They can't deal with the same situation they had with A.J. Brown, where A.J. Brown said that they were holding him back because he was a rookie. They got to let Burks go. He's obviously one of the most talented wide receivers on this team, if not the most talented, and they got to let him go. He can't be playing 35% of snaps. He needs to be up around 75% of snaps. And George Swam cannot be getting 4 or 5 targets a game, including having a bad drop late in the game, which screwed them completely up. But this game can be explained within a couple drives. It was a good game, like I said, for the Titans to start out. They got off to the quick 13-0 lead. Then the second half started. At halftime, they get the ball up 13-0, 3 and out, punt. Now, keep in mind with this 3 and out, they were at their own 33, 3rd down and 1. And instead of just handing the ball to Henry, regular run play, you got 250-pound Derrick Henry, the beast, probably the best running back in the league. They do a wildcat direct snap to Henry. Henry fumbles the ball, picks it back up, but ends up losing a couple yards. And that's it. They don't move on. They lose 2 yards. They have to punt it away. They punt it away to the Giants. Saquon goes right down the field with a big run. He ends up scoring a touchdown. All of a sudden, it's 13-6 because they missed the extra point. Then Titans get it back again. 3 and out again. They pretty much took Henry out, which is another thing. You had Henry in for one drive. It's the start of the 3rd quarter. You can leave him in for a second straight drive, but instead it was pass to Hilliard. It was a run to Hilliard, and then a pass to Hilliard. 3 and out. They punt it right back. Then you had a misplay by Christian Fulton. They talked about it earlier today. Bad job in technique. Giants go right down the field. Sterling Shepard with the 65-yard touchdown pass. And we're tied all of a sudden. 13-0, and you get in the ball in the second half, and all of a sudden the Giants have fired all the way back, and we're tied at 13. To the Titans' credit, they come right back down the field. They score another touchdown. They're up 20-13. And this is the part that changes most of the game, because it's 2013. You just got back the lead, and you force a 3 and out. So you force the 3 and out to the all the way back. You get the ball. You have a 3 and out. So it's like you have a chance to put them away. You didn't put them away. You punt it. When you punt the ball away, you stop them again. So you finally are. The defense is playing their ass off right now. They punt the ball. It's muff punt, fumbled by rookie Kyle Phillips, goes right back to the Giants. And this is the play that should have been the play of the game, as the Giants had the ball at the Tennessee 8-yard line. They're driving to try to tie the game. Interception. And all of a sudden, you're like, all right, now the Titans could take over. That'll take the last part of the hope off the Giants. But instead, they come back. They go 5 plays with the 2 main plays of this was they're throwing to George Swam, and they're throwing the ball to Okongwu for most of this drive, which I don't even get. And on 3rd and 1 at the Tennessee 41, instead of once again handing the ball to Derrick Henry, you do a tight end around to the rookie Okongwu. He gets stopped for a 40-yard loss. You have to punt the ball, and Giants come right down the field. And this was at the end of the game. They come right down the field. They score a touchdown, go for two. Big ballsy move by Dable. They take the lead 21-20. Titans actually come back, get in field goal position. Field goal kicker misses the field goal. Giants win. That explains the game. The game was won with pretty much the first couple drives of the second half, and then the drive that Tennessee at 2013 couldn't put the Giants away. They had two drives and they just couldn't put them away. So especially after the interception, they really should have been able to take the clock down, run it down a little bit, but just bad play calling. Todd Downing, the offensive coordinator, took the heat today for a lot of the bad calling. It's about time he took a little bit of the heat. The game happens since Sunday and it's Friday. So, he took a little bit of heat, but in terms of both of these teams, looking forward, the Giants just have to keep playing with this much heart. Now, hopefully they start to get a little bit more healthy. They get their pass rushers back. Like I said, Daniel Jones played good. He wasn't great. He only had 188 yards passing. And like I said, 65 was on one play. So he had a bunch of short passes to Saquon, but getting the ball in your best getting the ball in your best player's hands is never a bad thing. You got to get the ball to Saquon. He's completely healthy right now. If Saquon ever got hurt or goes down, the season's over anyway. And there's a chance that he may be gone no matter what he does this year, because you usually don't sign running backs to a big deal. And for him to come back, he's probably going to need a big deal because he's probably going to have a really, really good year. So it's a very, very tough situation for him right now. He's going to get paid no matter what after this year. It's just a matter if it's going to be the Giants shelling it out or if it's going to be another team shelling it out. But he's going to get paid by somebody after this year. So the big deal for him is use him. You got to when you see somebody in their fourth year or fifth year of their rookie contracts, that's the year that they really have to get used, because you got to make your decision. Are you going to keep them long term, or are you going to just burn him out for that 1 year? I think this is the year they really got to use Saquon. When he's healthy, he's one of the top 5 backs in the league, and he proved it last week. They're using him more in the passing game, which is something that they should have done earlier in his career, and they did. He did catch a lot of passes as a rookie. His rookie year was his monster year, and he's been hurt and hacked with injuries the past couple of years. But now that he's completely healthy, they need to use him a lot. And listen, Daniel Jones, I don't know if he'll be back next year. I doubt he will. But he played a solid game, and he did turn it over once, but as long as he doesn't turn it over too much, is not a bad option to have for this year. And we won't have to see Tyrod Taylor late on the season. As far as the Titans are concerned, the Titans right now, they have a lot of issues, and fans can ignore it. They can blame the kicker. They can blame maybe a false start on a 2-point conversion. I blame Dylan Cole not making a tackle on Saquon in the backfield, which he actually overran him, or he could have tackled him in the backfield. Titans win, and Titans fans will forget about all these mistakes. But play calling, player personnel, you still don't know about the offensive line because you didn't face anybody really this past week. So the line could still be an issue. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully you can fill that in. I think it won't be too bad anyway, but you got the line as an issue, possibly. You still need another wide receiver. I'm telling you, and watching A.J. Brown go nuts for the Philadelphia Eagles did not help, as he had about, I think it was like 10 catches for 150 plus yards this past weekend. Watching him go nuts while your top wide receiver, Robert Woods, gets 2 catches for about 10 yards is not how you want to start the season, especially when you're going against your former cornerback, Adoree Jackson. So the Titans have a lot of problems. They need to get more weapons in there. They need to get a top flight wide receiver, and they need to modernize the offense. That's the biggest thing I've been yelling about with the Titans for the past couple weeks, is that they still have that slow run the ball offense. You can run the ball, but if you look, Dalton Hilliard looked good actually for the time he was out there in a passing offense. If you have A.J. Brown on that team, if you have Hilliard out there for a couple plays for a passing play, all of a sudden, now the offense looks explosive. The team does not look explosive. They don't have anybody that's really a burner, nobody that's really that fast at wide out. They just are a slow plodding team, and they just have to wear you down. We'll see if that catches up to them, as they both are going to have a matchup this week, as the Titans will go at Buffalo on Monday night. The Giants will be Sunday at 1 o'clock against the Carolina Panthers. Moving on to the New York Jets. The Jets took a big loss 24-3 to the Baltimore Ravens. Flacco was okay. He threw for over 300 yards. He had a touchdown interception. Michael Carter actually ran well. He had 40 yards on the ground. He had, 60 yards on the ground, 40 yards in the air. So he had 100 total yards. Corey Davis had 6 catches for 77 yards. Even the rookie Wilson, he also had 4 catches for 52 yards. So it actually wasn't bad for them. Defense, pretty much it was a second half breakdown and they didn't get enough pressure on Lamar Jackson. Lamar ended up with 3 touchdown passes, just slightly over 200 yards, but that's what he has normally. 2 of the touchdown passes were to Devin Duvernay, and Mark Andrews had 5 catches for 52 yards. So they held him pretty much in check. This game was pretty much this game was a 10-3 game at halftime. So once again, this was a close game at halftime. And once they were able to hold them down. They were able to hold the Ravens down to start the second half. They had 3 plays. They were 3 and out, gave it right back to the Ravens. Ravens came down the field, scored a touchdown. Then 5 plays, only 14 yards, punt. Ravens come right back and score a touchdown. That has been the issue. And then next drive after that, they fumble the ball. Next drive after that, they're out on downs because then they're chasing points and everything like that. The Jets have to keep on schedule. They can't have the second half breakdown. They need to be able to move the ball, keep the chains moving, the 3 and outs, the 5 and outs, the quick possessions that only gain 10, 15 yards and go right back to these offenses. You can't do that. You can't do that with a good team. You can do that if you're playing against a bad team, but you're not going to do that against the Ravens. The Ravens will capitalize on that, and they did. So those 2 touchdowns in a row, they scored to start the second half, and this game was over, 24-3. From then on, it's done. You did score a late touchdown to make it 24-9, but keep in mind, it's 24-9. Imagine if you didn't give up one of those 2 touchdowns. All of a sudden, it's a 1-score game. That's how close things can be in football. That just that 1 touchdown stop this from being possibly a 1-score game with about 2 minutes or a minute and a half to go. That you can't let things get away like that. And the Jets let things get away in the second half. Jermaine Johnson looked okay. He did get a half a sack. Lawson coming back from his injury last year. He didn't look great, but hopefully he gets better as the year goes along. The biggest thing for them is that I think the offense will get better with Zach Wilson, because even though Joe Flacco is good now, in terms of being a placeholder, he's not going to be good long term. He's an older player. He doesn't have the same arm strength he had when he was younger. He still has good arm strength, but not the same as when he was younger. He's not as athletic. So he was sacked 3 times. You can't be. They put themselves in bad situations because you take sacks, it puts you behind the sticks, and then all of a sudden you can't get the first down. You have to punt it away. So they're just in a bad situation with Flacco right now, and it doesn't look like Zach Wilson will be coming back to at least week 4. So they're going to have to deal with some issues as they play against the Cleveland Browns next week. And Browns played against the Panthers. They got a win. And it was one of those games where they probably didn't deserve to win, as their rookie kicker kicked a game-winning 58-yard field goal to win. So it's a winnable game for the Jets. I'll put it that way. You're going against Jacoby Brissett. You're not facing Deshaun Watson, obviously. You're going to have to stop the run because they're going to pound it. You know they're coming with Nick Chubb. You know they're coming with Kareem Hunt. They don't pass the ball that much because that's just what their offense is. That's what their offense was with Baker Mayfield. That's what their offense is now. It's going to be pound the ball with Nick Chubb, who had a great game last week. When he gets tired, bring Kareem Hunt. He can not only run the ball, but he can catch passes, and he had a touchdown last week. It's just going to be center your defense around those 2 guys. If you could do that, then you'll have a chance to win this game. But it will be a tough game, as all games will be for the Jets. The Jets are not one of those top-tier teams that they can just cruise on their talent. They have talent, but it's a lot of young talent. We got to hope Wilson continues to get better. We got to hope Brees continues to not only get better, but hold on to the ball, as his fumble was also very critical in terms of letting this game get away. So Jets hopefully will be able to turn it around. It's one of those times where it's early in the year, it's week 1. You don't want to panic too much. And hopefully next week they can make the adjustments where they will be able to flip the switch a little bit and turn around this offense to get some more points, because you're not going to win, obviously, just scoring 10 points. And one of the reasons that you can say that is because of the game last night, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Los Angeles Chargers. These two teams, when you watch them play offense, it's like watching art, to be honest, because you have two young quarterbacks that can make passes that, sometimes you may never see. There was a pass last night that Justin Herbert, after he practically gotten his ribs broken, I'm not sure if the official word came out, if he's got ribs broken or what, but he got crushed back-to-back plays and he could barely move. So it was 3rd down and 1. He ran for the first down, but he literally couldn't run for the first down because he couldn't move. He tried to throw the ball away. He only threw it like 2 yards. He was in so much pain that you're like, why is he in the game? And I saw everybody, including me, yelling, like, why is he in the game? You're down 10 points. Like, all you're doing is going to hurt your superstar. This is stupid. And then literally within 20 seconds later, the next play, he flips a 40-yard pass that has a window of about 3 inches, and he slips it by the defender for the deep bomb all the way to get that ball down in the 5-yard line. Then he throws a touchdown pass like 2 plays later. He between him and Patrick Mahomes, it is just so much fun to watch. That is one of those things where you don't even have to be a fan of their team. You just appreciate how good they are. It was just really just fun just watching that game. Chiefs ended up winning the game by 3, 27-24. It was one of those games where you get jealous as a team that doesn't have one of those offenses or doesn't go crazy with passing. And as a Tennessee Titans fan, it's the same thing. You look at teams like that, and they have such offensive firepower. And the thing about it is that, yeah, you have Mike Williams. On the other side, you have Travis Kelce. But it tells you have to get a weapon that is dynamic with the football. And that's something that whether you're the Jets fan, whether you're a Giants fan, whether you're a Titans fan, that's what you need. The Giants have that with Saquon, but it's very hard to do that with a running back. They need whether Galladay wakes up, which it doesn't look like he is, or you draft somebody else, or Kadarius Toney does it. You need somebody like that. Hopefully Wilson is that for the Jets. He possibly could be, because Garrett Wilson is a very, very talented wide receiver. So he may be that person for the Jets. Hopefully Treylon Burks is that for the Titans, but they're both rookies, so we don't know how fast they're going to get up to being that number 1 wide receiver, but they are sure hoping that they do. But another thing you saw last night was speed. You saw, even when the tight ends caught the ball, they were immediately 10 yards up the field. You have to have speed. And the Jets do have some speed on their team. That's why I'm very high on the Jets' future. I think the Jets have what it takes that they can be very productive in the future as long as Zach Wilson plays up to what people think he is. The Giants still have a little bit of work because I love Wan'Dale Robinson. Kadarius Toney does have some moves. I think they need a true number 1 because I don't think either one of those guys is number 1 wide receiver. So they need a true number 1. And once they get that and making sure that their offensive line is settled, because they may need another piece there, then the Giants will be able to go from there. But with that said, it's going to be a long season. So you're going to see a lot of fun games like that. And listen, the league is in good hands. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are going to retire soon. But between Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Burrow from Cincinnati, the league is in good hands. You don't have to worry. Instead of constant debating about who's better than this, just enjoy it all, because those are some really, really top tier guys in the league. And listen, it's just fun to watch them play. Moving on to the New York Yankees. The Yankees right now, they're on a 4-game win streak. They have a 6.5 game lead over the Blue Jays and a 7-game lead over the Rays. It's been pretty much, everybody knows that the Yankees were going to make the playoffs. The only question was when they had that very, very bad stretch, if they were actually going to hold on and win the division, because listen, they've won 4 in a row. So they've turned it around. But before that 4-game win streak, between August 17th and the start of the 4-game win streak at the start of the week, they were 500. They were really in a bad rut, and they just let Tampa Bay specifically come back. And now the Blue Jays are right there also, but they were in big trouble. If you look back about a week ago before they finally turned around, and what turned it around was actually a Sunday win against the Blue Jays that ironically, it was Paul O'Neill Day on August 21st, a game that I actually happened to go to. Before that, they were really, really struggling, but they seem to have everything back in order right now. Obviously, they're led by Aaron Judge with his 57 home runs. He's now 4 off the Roger Maris mark. And it almost looks like Aaron Boone is trying to get him that record because he's putting him first in the order, is giving him more at bats so he can have more chances to hit home runs. Judge, I'll tell you though, he has, even though he's leading the league with 57 home runs, leading the league with 123 RBIs, he's more proud of, and he should be, that he's hitting 310, because that was always the thing on Aaron Judge, that he was a swing and miss guy. It was just home runs or that was strikeouts. That was it. Him hitting 310, he's 4th in the league right now. He's that close to a triple crown. The leader is like 320. So with this many games left, 15, 20, he would have to go on a hot streak to get up to about 315, and the other guy would have to drop to about 315. So it's a very far away when you had this much at bats. But the point is that he's had an extremely good season. He's in his contract year, so somebody's going to pay him. It's just, will the Yankees be that team? I think they will. I think they will eventually pay him. And it's just because he doesn't have really too many options to go to. Now, if they had traded for Soto, then I said, all right, they probably would have let Judge go. But now they don't have to pay Soto. I think that they will pay Aaron Judge, and he will remain a New York Yankee. Yankees are going to find the rest of the season going against Milwaukee for 3 games, the Pirates for 2 games, Red Sox for 4, Blue Jays for 3, Orioles for 3, and then finishing off with 4 against the Texas Rangers. And the biggest issue for the Yankees right now is finding another starter, because they have Garrett Cole. They have Nestor, who's been up and down recently, but Nestor's not a bad guy. I think he's more a number 3 guy. They need another starter. They need at least a number 2 guy to go behind Cole. And if they don't get that, I mean, it's going to depend on their bullpen. And their bullpen is horrible, but it's not been near as good as the Yankee bullpens as previously stated in previous years. And the biggest thing, they don't have a closer. They seem to have a different closer every week. It goes whether it's Holmes or whether it's Chapman or whether they tried Smith to go for 9 outs or 10 outs against the Mets one time. They just find a different person to try to close every day. That doesn't work in the playoffs. They're going to have to find a closer. If they don't find a closer, I'm afraid to say they could be knocked out with their first series in the playoffs. That is so important in the playoffs because you don't have pitchers now that really go 8 innings, 9 innings. I mean, you can call it a complete game when they go 7. You don't see much of that, but it's a real big issue for them right now. They got to find somebody to close that can come in, get 4 outs if needed. And right now, they don't even have anybody to consistently give them 3 outs. They have a big issue right now, and that's something that the Yankees really need to take care of. Hitting, you never have to worry about hitting, and I'm actually more worried about facing a Yankee team because they actually have people that can manufacture runs now. They have people to bunt people over. They have people that don't just swing for the fences, that just make contact. That's the type of team you want to win. So they have the hitting. That is not in question, especially with Stanton back. They don't have a problem with that. Their problem will be their pitching. Can they pitch well enough to get deep in games? When they get deep in games, can they finish off games without having a true closer? Will somebody step up out of nowhere? We don't know. Is there somebody that maybe sometimes remember David Price stepped up for Tampa Bay years ago that was in the minor leagues and he ended up being a closer in the playoffs for them. Sometimes that happens. Do the Yankees have that guy? We'll have to wait and find out when the playoffs begin. Now on to the Mets. The Mets have a 1-game lead over the Atlanta Braves right now. They have been 3-4 their last 7, so they've been struggling because we've heard for weeks about, all right, they have a weak schedule to finish the year. They don't face much teams playing over 500, and they're still losing to these teams like the Marlins, and they did beat the Pittsburgh Pirates, but they lost 3 to the Cubs. It's like they're just playing very bad ball right now. They're going to finish off the season with 2 against Pittsburgh, 3 against Milwaukee, 3 against Oakland, 2 against Florida, 3 against, obviously the big series down in Atlanta, then the 3 against the Nats. And their biggest issue is going to be finding a way to get the ball to Diaz. They can't have Diaz come in every single game and have to pitch 6 outs to try to get you out, and having him pitch in the 8th inning, then you have to worry about the 9th inning. I mean, somebody's got to step up. I mean, you need, obviously you need at least one guy to step up, but you probably need 2. You need somebody, because when you think about baseball now, you think about just a starter. Can he get you 6 innings? And if he can get you 6 innings, you got to have your 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guy. Obviously, Diaz is going to take care of at least 1, if not 2 of those innings. But you don't want him pitching 6 outs every night. You want to have 2 guys to come in there that you can depend on and say, all right, this guy's going to get me the 7th. This guy's going to get me the 8th. And then we got Diaz for the 9th. The Braves did it last year. The Braves had they had 5 bullpen arms to work between the 6th inning and the 9th inning, because sometimes their starters weren't even giving them 6. So they had, whether it was Luke Jackson, whether it was Will Smith, whether it didn't matter who it was. Obviously, Minter and Matzik were huge. They just had somebody coming in every single day to shut it down for them. And that's what the Mets need. They need somebody to get the ball to their closer. It doesn't matter how dominant your closer is. Eventually, he's going to wear down. And you got to hope that pitching Diaz so many times in the 8th inning. Now, don't get me wrong. The first game when they played against the Braves, and he went 6 innings to win game 1 of that series to establish dominance in that series, and they ended up winning 4 out of 5. I completely was with it. I completely agree with Buck's decision. I think Buck's a great manager, but I think after that, he continued to do it. And I don't think that's the best way to do it. I understand what he's doing. And when he pitches them in the 8th inning to get through the heart of the order, I even understand that. I completely understand that. But you got to get some of these other pitchers some confidence. They have to. And I know it's hard to do that because the Braves keep winning, and till the past week, but before that, the Braves kept winning, and then the lead that was 10.5 on June 1st, and then it was down to 3 games, and then it was up to 6 again, and then it was down to 2 games, and then it got up to 5 again, and now it's at 1. So, and at one point it was tied about a week ago. So, no matter what you're doing, you still got the Braves down your throat. You got to start thinking. Listen, you got Jacob deGrom, you got Max Scherzer, you got Chris Bassett. You got all these pitchers that are solid. You know they're going to give you 6 innings, if not 7 innings. Just get one guy to help out Diaz, because I know what Buck's going to try to do. He's going to try to say in the playoffs, he's going to have Max go 7, or maybe 7 1/3 or whatever. He's going to have, and after he goes 7 or 7 1/3, 7 2/3, then you're going to have Diaz come in to finish the game. No middle reliever. You're going to have deGrom do the same thing. Go 7, maybe 7 1/3, 7 2/3. Have Diaz finish it off. And that's how he's going to try to dominate games. And that may work, but you do that for 2 games in a row, and then you can't use your closer for 2 more games. It is a very tough situation when you're using him that much. While if you just get one reliever that can go 1 inning when deGrom starts. He can go 1 inning when Scherzer starts. He could go 2 innings when anybody else starts. Just to get the ball to Diaz. And all of a sudden, you got a team that's going to give up 3 or less runs every single game. And you give up 3 or less runs every single game, you're going to win about 80% or 90% of those games, especially when Diaz is at the back end of that. So the Mets have the formula to go very far in the playoffs. They just need to find somebody to get hot. And sometimes that's all it takes. Just get hot at the right time. They need to find that other middle reliever. And it's not going to be May. I don't think it'll be May. I don't think it'll be Seth Lugo. They need to get one guy to get hot at the right time to bridge the gap between their dominant starters, which has been dominant all year, and Edwin Diaz. But thinking of the team that is chasing them down and seems to never win until this past week, the Atlanta Braves. Now, the Atlanta Braves have lost 4 of their last 5. So that's why I said until this past couple games. Before that, going back to that series that they lost against the Mets when they lost 4 out of 5 games, since that series until this past week, they went 23-5. That is the reason why if the Mets even have an above 500 record, you still got the Braves coming right down their throats. And the big bullpen issue of why they've lost the 4 of the past 5 games, their closer, Kenley Jansen. And that seems to be the issue all around baseball is bullpens. With the Yankees, it was the closer. With the Mets, it's the 7th, 8th inning guy. With the Braves, it's the closer right now, Kenley Jansen. In the last 6 2/3 inning, he's given up 7 runs. He's blown 3 of those 7 save opportunities. And that's going to be tough because now you got people that faced you all year. You're going to get, for the rest of the year, the Braves just faced the rest of the National League East. They got 3 against Philly, 3 against Nats, 4 against Philly, 3 against Nats, and then they end off with the 3 with the Mets and the 3 with the Florida Marlins. So they're playing the NL East the rest of the way. So these guys have seen Kenley Jansen for the whole year so far. As you see guys more and more, they usually can hit the ball better off of you. I think it's time that they make the switch to Iglesias. And fans have been talking about this for the past couple of weeks. Now, finally, the beat writers for the Braves are starting to get in line with this. You got to make that change. You got to make the change. And Jansen can do what Will Smith should have did before and been like a 7th, 8th inning guy. But you can't leave it to him in the 9th because he's just too inconsistent right now. He's not dependable. And unless he can flip the switch like Will Smith did last year, where he went from just being a slightly above average closer in the regular season to a lights out dominant closer in the postseason. And I don't really see that happening, but unless he's able to do that, this is not going to end up being a good situation for the Braves because they have good, solid pitching. You obviously have Max Fried, Wright's pitching unbelievable. You got Martin, who's been pitching better in the second half. You have all these pitchers. Ian Anderson eventually will be back up and he'll be starting for them. Strider has been unbelievable, but I think he may have to be a bullpen guy if they only need 4 starters. If they need 5, then he'll be the guy. But obviously they can't have Odorizzi in there because Odorizzi's horrible. So if you make these changes, you may be able to salvage it because the rest of the bullpen hasn't been that bad. They've obviously had their blips. Dylan Lee had a little bad streak. Mentors had a little bad streak. Matt Six had a bad streak. But overall, they're good relievers. They're going to go up a run maybe 2 out of every 10 appearances. So you got to have those guys in. You got to make the switch. You can't have those guys pitching good. You get all the way to the 9th and then you blow it. And that has happened way too many times over the past week or two. This bad streak by him started August 27th. So it's been about 3 weeks now that he's been pitching bad. This is not just a couple bad games where, all right, he's in a slump and he'll break out of it. He's got to be replaced right now. We're at the end of the season. You got 20 games to figure it out. And it's going to be big for whoever gets that NL East win because whoever wins the NL East is going to get a bye. Whoever doesn't is fighting a 2 out of 3 game series to stay in the playoffs. So it's huge to win this division. There's a huge difference. So if you only being 1 game out, Snickers got to wake up and make the change and stop being so loyal because now this could cost you not only winning the division, but also ending your year early because you're in a best 2 out of 3 series against a team that is hot coming into the playoffs as one of the wild card teams. So you got to find a way to win this division, only being 1 game out and knowing that you have 3 games with the Mets later on in the year. So we'll see if they eventually make that change. But that's something they definitely need to do. One of the big things that should help them is Ozzie Albies comes back tonight. He has been finally taken off the injured list, and he will join the team. I have not seen the starting lineup tonight to see if he is in the starting lineup, but I actually think he probably will be. So the Braves all-star second baseman, who has been out for about 2 months, is now returning to the team, and that's going to be a huge boost to them as it just lengthens their already deep line of hitters. As now we have to see where Vaughn Grissom will go. Will he go to left field or will he just spend time at DH? He's been hitting well, even though he's been a little bit of a slump lately. He was hitting around 400 for a while, but he's gone down to around 315 or so. Well, he's got to find a way to keep his bat in the lineup because he's better than what the rest are. So we'll see how their starting lineup is and how they keep him in the lineup. But moving on to after years of waiting since they fought for the second time, we now finally come on the eve of Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin Part 3. The fight will take place tomorrow in Las Vegas. It's a fight where a lot of people, including me, said we never wanted to see the third fight. We thought an older Golovkin against Canelo in his earlier mid 30s would dominate a 40-year-old Golovkin. So we don't really want to see that. Me being a Golovkin fan said I don't want him to get hurt. I mean, Canelo hurts people in the ring. He's that good in the ring. Now, as we come to the day before the fight, I'm interested. And you see more people are interested online. You see people are talking about it a lot. And there's actually questions surrounding Canelo because of that loss to Bivol. He didn't throw as much punches. He looks like he's starting to age a little bit. And one thing you have to know about Canelo, although his age is not old, he's old in boxing because he didn't go through a 5-year amateur career where he went through 100 fights. But he went through so many fights when he was young, when he was 15, when he was 16, he's up to 60, 70 fights. By the time he's done, he's going to have 70 fights. And he's not even going to be 40 and still have that amount of fights. He's fought a lot. Whether he's taken a lot of punishment, he still had to spar a lot of fights. He still had to train for all those fights. His body has gone through a lot. And over the past couple fights, you can see his punch count has gone down. He's not throwing as much punches as he did since that Golovkin fight. And if you go back and look at all his fights since that second Golovkin fight, nobody has really hurt him badly. I mean, in terms of Bivol was the first guy to actually beat him. The rest of the guys, they fought like they were scared of him. I mean, it was no challenge. He went through the European crew from all the British crew, beat all of them. And really there was nobody for him to fight. So he challenged himself. He went up to first 168, then he went up to 175. And 175 looked like it was a little bit too much for him as his punches didn't really have the same type of impact as they had at 160. And now it looks like he's going back down. He's back down to 168 for the Golovkin fight. And the two biggest questions will be, one, what will be the amount of punches that Canelo can throw? Can he still throw the constant punches that he did in round 2 to back Golovkin up? 2, at this weight, how will Golovkin react? He's not a 168 fighter. Now, it probably more is towards his natural weight, so it probably helps him that way. But he's fought at 160 his whole career. His power, will it go up at 168? I mean, will it be a difference now that he's older? Will it be a difference now that Canelo is older? It's a lot of questions to be asked, and those questions are going to be answered tomorrow. I still think that these two guys are just guys that's going to put on a good fight. No matter how many rounds they go against each other, no matter how many rounds that it says one person win or the other person wins. Listen, these guys have fought 2 fights, 24 rounds. Nobody's been knocked down. It's just been a slug it out. And arguably, the cards have been split pretty much down the middle of those 24 rounds. So it's one of those fights where it's going to be a good fight unless something drastically changes or some who knows, it may be a Marquez Pacquiao type of instance. Somebody got knocked out of nowhere type of fight. But unless it's one of those quick first round, second round, somebody got caught out of nowhere and it just stuns them, this is probably going to go to distance again. So I'm going to say it goes to the distance. If you want to make money, obviously you bet Golovkin distance because that nobody expects that to happen. If you want to just pick who you think is going to win, you probably pick Canelo by decision. But either way, I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to go to decision. I'll be rooting for Golovkin because I've covered Golovkin numerous times. I know people in his camp. I know him, and he's a really good person. And that's one of the guys I root for. That's one of the guys, reason why I covered boxing. So I just think that it'll be hopefully his time, as it looks like it will be his last fight. So hopefully he's able to go out on top and finally get that big win that I feel he deserves from his career in boxing. Just to finish it up, thinking of people going out on top, or maybe not completely on top, but near the top, Roger Federer announced his retirement. He follows in the steps of Serena Williams, who a couple weeks ago announced her retirement. And now you have the greats leaving the sport. A couple, who knows, in a couple years, you'll hear about Djokovic retiring and you'll hear about everybody retiring from tennis all of a sudden. But with that said, we talked earlier about how Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers may retire. And when they retire, you got Mahomes, Allen Herbert, and Burrow to step up. Who's going to step up in tennis? We don't know. We may have already seen them in the past U.S. Open. We got the young Frenchman, the run Spaniard out there. There's a lot of people we'll see who steps up and takes the reins from them, just like they're taking the reins right now in football. But till next week, I'm your host, Pac-Man, and we'll catch you next week on Pac Sports Zone.